It's that time again. It's the Aidstation podcast. Kia ora koutou. My name is Matt Raymond.
Are you recording?
I've been recording this whole time. It's mutually assured destruction because all the stuff, all the episodes.
I've got the record thing off the screen. I can't tell that you're recording.
I know.
I was waiting for the countdown.
It's like the Pentagon Papers.
It's been going for 11 minutes, 54 seconds already, Andrew.
Tell you what, we're going to set
all
up
those
another...
things I just said about all those people.
We're going to set up We're going to set up another tier of Patreon, another tier of the Substack if you want the unmitigated shitstorm that is Dirt Church Radio in 2025. You will subscribe. But look, I'm Matt Raymond.
I'm Ali Pottinger.
And I'm editing this. And I'm Andrew McDowell. I need a Men in Black thing. Everyone look at the thingy and hit the button. That'd be great.
It's pretty much my short-term memory at the moment.
He's a blushing Andrew McDowell.
Yeah. Shit. That's all right. I have control of the editing suite.
You do.
But you can all have a copy of this and you can hold it ransom against me.
Okay. Exactly. I'll be downloading that raw audio.
Because I would never talk ill of any other runner.
No, of course not.
So disrespectful.
Look,
so who should we start with?
We go A through L and then whatever the letter.
It's been a funny old time, hasn't it, the last couple of weeks? In our community, you have to say.
It has been a funny old time. There is usually a veneer of goodwill, which is more or less intact and authentic in our community, right? Like some little pockets are spicier than others, and sometimes we get a bit grumpy. But it seems like Ali and I went away to UTA and just had a grand old time, and it's going to running circus camp, space camp, and all that sort of stuff. And then, as I said to you guys, I came home. I got home 1:30 in the morning on the Sunday because I arrived in Auckland and had not confirmed to pick up with Rebecca, who was like, he'll get an Uber home, and just went to bed. I thought I was getting picked up. So anyway, long story short, got home about 1:30 in the morning.
Did you call the missus or did you?
Yeah, I was like, "Hey, baby, you coming to get me?" She's like, "What?" But it was a no harm foul.
Okay.
Jumped in an Uber, went home, and then was up at 6 in the morning, and then went to work for the week. So I then just disengaged from any running content whatsoever because.
Oh, that's fine because nothing's been happening, mate.
Well, no. The question is, it's gotten pretty spicy this week. So why don't you guys word me up and tell me what's been going on in the world of persnickety ultra running talks on the internet?
Well, I guess what's the best way to look at this? Because obviously the hottest topic at the moment is William Goodge. I don't know how to say his last name.
Hot topic.
Ooh. Hot topic. British runner and model.
Also, pun intended there, Andrew.
British model, runner, and I don't get it. I didn't even get my own pun. Sorry.
Hot topic.
Got you. Sorry. Yeah. Yep. Cool.
I laugh at my own jokes.
Yeah, no, it's great. Good job.
You're self-sourcing, Ali.
Oh, there it is. Oh no. Anyway, he ran across Australia, and he's this what do you call it? Like a new type of ultra running athlete that we're seeing more and more of. And I think it's a case of for better or for worse because it's a lot of these runners have a huge following, right? And it's raising the awareness of the community, and it's opening up long distance running to a whole new generation of people that otherwise would have never heard of it. That's good. That's definitely good. Some of the sign-ups to these big races now are massive, right?
Oh, we know.
Yeah, right? Yeah, look at UTA.
It.
Look at the queues. Sorry, UTA. Look at the queues to go down certain areas of UTA. So on the surface, what he's done is incredibly impressive. Over 100 kilometres a day while smoking ciggies and having a beer at the end of the day. It's this. There's a vibe, right? He's been, I wasn't there. I don't know. There's a lot of controversy about heart rate, and if you look at the data, it's certainly a little odd because, they're saying his heart rate's too low, and I look at it and I think, well, if you're running 7-minute Ks, if I was running 7-minute Ks, my heart rate would be about that, 105 BPM, I think so. So I don't know if that's what they've exactly the problem, but there's definitely a few things that are a bit funny. But he's kind of shooting back so aggressively with, even the names of some of his daily runs. We're like, take that, you effing this and that, it's quite full on. And I think that's the bit that I'm looking at interestingly, thinking, this is interesting because the old school runners would never behave like this. They would have a much more sort of keep your head down. I just went and did it. I just chucked on a pair of running shoes and I ran across the country. Nobody gave a shit about it back then. These guys have got the whole medias thing dialed in tight. And I guess we're seeing more and more of it. Along with that comes, I guess, a bigger audience questioning it. So I don't know. It's just a funny time. We saw Russ Cook's just done, or in the middle. Has he finished the New Zealand thing? He's finished.
And there was questions around that too, right?
Yeah, I mean, a mate of mine saw him on a road which made no sense. It wasn't part of the course, and he saw of the Te Araroa. But then again, I don't think he was really trying. It was more of a promotional Tourism New Zealand thing, and that's fine. I think what he did was pretty cool, and he certainly suffered. Like, he put himself through a lot to get through. So that's fine, but yeah, there is a balance going on that people are trying to find between what you're doing is actually really, really difficult, but you must make sure that if you're going to shout it to the world, that you're accountable, that everything, you've crossed your T's, you dotted your I's, so nobody can question it, just to maintain the integrity of the sport. He seems to think he did. I wasn't there. I don't really know, but we're probably going to get more and more of this. Pete Kostelnik, is that how you say his name? The guy that holds the record for running across America. He said that the guy should have a live tracker, so you can, like one that's actually trackable online. And they said they kept that in the van for safety rather than him having it on him. And I mean, maybe that's fine. But again, it's a question. It's just another sort of, oh yeah, okay, maybe not. I don't know. I'm sort of rambling a little bit, sorry. But it's a funny time, perhaps is what I'm trying to say.
It's a funny time. I think it's interesting with the live tracker. I know that if I say the name Lael Wilcox, does that name ring a bell?
It does not.
She's probably, no, she's not probably. She is the most impressive ultra endurance cyclist that's ever lived. A woman, and she's so awesome and she's so good. And she was doing the Tour Divide, and her girlfriend, now wife, was documenting it and was part of the film crew, and there was all this suspicion raised by another cyclist, and it sort of veered into the kind of, it was quite misogynistic, and there was all this stuff, but they both had to wear live trackers to ensure that one wasn't, it got completely out of hand. If you want an engaging afternoon look at the Lael Wilson.
So where's the line, I guess?
Yeah, where's the line?
At what point is it sufficient evidence?
Yeah. I hate him for the fact that he is good looking and he was smoking ciggies at the end of the day. Like, I feel a personal degree of affront to that, because why can't you just not be such a smug prick about it?
Yep.
You. I don't know him.
But then he'll turn around and say, "You guys are just a bunch of old buggers that are from a different era." And this is
no,
how
I
we
hate
roll
him
now.
because he's good looking and he smokes ciggies. Do you know? We'd all love to be good looking and smoke ciggies at the end. I'd love to run 100k and have a Marlboro Light at the end of it.
I don't
Would
feel
you?
that
I
urge.
wouldn't.
No, thanks. But sure.
There's part of me that really would.
Were you a smoker back in the day?
I smoked for about 18 months in my late 20s, and it was brilliant. It was a really good time in my life. It was a really good judgment to start smoking.
Do not listen to this man.
At 28.
At 28?
I know. Good, eh? Really, really sound.
Oh, my goodness.
I know. So not really, but a little bit. But no, I don't hate him. But it's that thing, isn't it? It's kind of that, like, you're right, Andrew. It's that generational thing. And I'm sure, look, I mean, Tom Magusa was doing Tour de Jean with a dude who was like smashing darts the whole way. There's all that, the Europeans are all like,
That's
like,
true.
So,
yeah, they love a dart in France, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. Smoking a gouloir. What do you think, Ali?
I feel like you're right. Like, there is kind of the whole, like, Andrew saying that we are kind of a different generation, and thinking about it is, I think the difference actually is between intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation. So a lot of people that are coming into this sport that are doing these things are doing it because they want the fanfare, they want the attention, and they are documenting it. They're doing what they can. Like the darts is probably carefully curated to be like, look at how freaking cool I am. Like, or the things that they're wearing, like it's like that novelty that makes it even more interesting. So to me, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're also intrinsically motivated, but they just like to look really cool.
Well, there's money in it, isn't there? I mean, these guys are
Yeah.
making these guys will turn around and make look at old Ned. I mean, he's got that chocolate milk in Australia, and he's making a killing
Does
off it.
he has chocolate milk?
It's pretty good chocolate milk. Like, I'll
Right,
be
like
honest.
his face is on the plastic
is
thing.
pretty good chocolate milk.
And I guess there's a
Yeah.
Netflix. I haven't seen it, and I've been told that it's quite hard to watch. But there's a
is there?
Netflix documentary, so there must be money in that.
Yeah, why is it hard to watch?
I don't know. That's just.
Okay.
I said to a friend that I was going to try and watch it,
Said
and
some
she
other
said that her and
crusty
her partner.
gatekeeping ultra runner. It's hard to watch.
I think
Just let
that's
the
what
kids
it is.
be.
Yeah.
I shouldn't. Brockman's another that 10-day thing. Might not go down that rabbit hole.
Don't go
but
down that rabbit hole. But
I'm
I
not
also think
happy
this
about that
William
one.
guy, I mean, he makes his he's made his money. So he's made his money. And yeah, he's after more money. But he's made his money hanging out in his skivvies. And he looks great. Like, let's be honest. He's a very well put together gentleman.
Do you need a moment?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Self-sourcing. No.
Yeah, I'm self-sourcing. Absolutely.
Might have to have a rating on this one.
Yeah, no, but and to have think about how many sort of conventionally attractive men and women are in the world, and to make it as a model, the drive, there would be that kind of moment of not luck, but maybe you get discovered, or you get, you do your hard work, but there's drive, there's both extrinsic and intrinsic motivation, and a certain amount of a certain amount of nous to do that, right? And to understand that. So I agree. And I think that's the thing, that's my kind of my visceral, like, I dropped that F-bomb before. It's not that I don't like what he's doing. It's like, leave something for the rest of us.
He's too good to be true.
Yeah.
Do you think, but isn't he doing it for charity?
What
And
charity? The Siggy charity.
Something
Like-
to do with, like, his mum died of something. And
Yes, but one has to be wary. Again, I'm going to sound a bit like a hater, but one has to be wary of these guys that use charity as a vehicle for their own self-promotion.
Absolutely.
And we're getting a lot of that these days. Yes, it's great. You're raising money for charity. Very good. But at the end of the day, the biggest winner in this whole thing is you, because
Yeah.
Absolutely.
you've raised your profile and now you're marketable as something. So,
you've got the book, you've got the documentary, you've got the
yeah,
I don't
a
even know,
lot of these
endorsements,
are
your
a
chocolate milks.
vehicle for their own gains.
Yeah.
That sounds really cynical, but I mean, I've seen so much of it that it does seem to be the case. So anyway, that's William, or Will.
But he did it.
Well, by all, it certainly seems that way. Yeah.
And that's the thing.
If it's totally legit, then it's a ridiculously good performance.
Yeah,
It's
right.
unbelievable.
And so the thing with it too is, do you think if he just was like bog standard, ordinary looking bloke, like couldn't pick him out of a lineup, that it would have created so much fuss? And my reaction before going, hey, rah, 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 if cats look like frogs, right, we'd kill every cat we saw, because cats can be real dicks. But because cats look like cats, we're like, oh, you're just so nice. Is it because this dude's eminently strokeable? That
Okay, so Matt, I don't quite share your feelings. I was once very quick side story. I was once in a bar with a guy that was so good looking that chicks came up to him and he'd show them his wedding ring and they'd start sucking his finger that had the wedding ring on it. He just walked in. This is how good looking this guy was, and I had absolutely no idea. So the same applies to this guy. I had absolutely no idea he was a good looking guy. I was just reading the controversy about his efforts before I even saw a photo of the guy.
Oh,
So
no, I'm not talking about you.
I don't know. I don't think it really matters.
I do. I think it matters
That
to
is
some
good
people.
looking,
I do. I absolutely
apparently.
think it matters. I think there's a degree of inherent jealousy, and I think there's a degree of inherent, like, there can almost be, as there is I think about Myrna Valeria, right, who put out that amazing documentary, and it showed her running an ultra marathon, and she was reading out the comments that some dude had emailed her as she was running the marathon, like, you're a fat pig and you have no you have no business doing this and you're an embarrassment to the sport of running and you're an embarrassment to this and that and the other thing. I think the other side of the spectrum is absolutely there, and people direct a lot. I mean, it certainly happens with women, right? Like attractive women, like how dare you this, you that, you the other thing. And I think that there might be a degree of that going on as well. Certainly not, I don't feel that, like I was just being funny. But yeah, I think that kind of does draw attention to it as well. Like how dare you be both like good at running and the blue steel?
Maybe. Certainly not to me. I was just interested in the heart rate, really, to be honest. But okay.
Both things can be true.
Excuse me. I'm still just trying to get right from man flu, coughing in the background.
What else went on?
Avaripa running had a little bit of controversy, didn't they?
So what actually happened? Because I read the Facebook post, but it actually didn't really say much apart from that they dished out a 20-minute penalty and then lots of people saying it should have been a DQ. So what was the actual situation?
So there was a gentleman, his name is Ferdinand Eralt, and he runs on the Avaripa running team. Mm-hmm. And it was at Black Canyon 100. He got aid outside of an aid station.
Oh.
So that was the main thing. And he also took I think he took a little bit of either a shortcut or he cut the course a little bit.
He took a parallel road to
right.
the trail, and then instead of, once he was discovered that he'd gone the wrong way, he said he asked somebody and they said, yeah, you're good, which doesn't help. And then instead of going back to the area when he took the wrong turn, he just cut straight across and kept going.
Right.
Distance-wise, probably no gain whatsoever. You know, if anything, maybe slightly slower while he's trying to work out where the heck he's going. However, that's not the point. The point is when you go off course in any race, you must retrace your steps. Because, I mean, what if he got it wrong? What if he went in the other direction? Now he's in the middle of nowhere missing and no one knows where the hell he is, you know? So you must retrace your steps and go back to the point where you went off. So, I mean, the 20-minute penalty and all that as far as the race goes, I mean, sure, it probably didn't make much difference. He lost a few places and
he went from 10th to 14th.
Yeah, you know, I mean, not really a big deal. I just worry about the decision making, you know, both being crude. He says that he got given water, realised that a member of his crew shouldn't have been there, did not take the water on, and kept going, and actually ran the whole section without any water whatsoever. Again, it's a bit weird. Like, okay, I mean, if that's the truth, fine, but still, that's a mistake. So it's kind of the combination of the two things makes it look quite bad. I think at the end of the day, probably it's fine, but as he personally should put his hand up and say, don't do what I did. You must retrace. You must go back to where you came from. It is by far the safest thing to do, and this applies to any race, because the moment you start trying to guess where you should be, you're in danger of becoming unfindable, and that is a terrible thing to do. So it's setting a really bad example. I think that's what concerns me the most.
I think that regardless of are they talking about sort of different spanks for different ranks? Is that what everyone's getting really? It's
unfortunate that he's a member of their team. Yeah. That is unfortunate.
And people are saying, if it was me, you would have DQ'd me.
Yeah. Hard to know. Yeah. Hard to know. It's definitely not. They would have probably gone, oh, damn it, he's one of ours. You know, I don't know. The individual should probably take the L on this and just actually disqualify themselves. Just request it. If that's what integrity. That's what I would do.
It's tricky. I think that there should be. Hopefully, every race has clear rules around these sort of things. And I think too, like kind of going back to talking about these, you know, like the William Goodge's FKT or whatever you want to call it.
But you can't stay away from him.
Having that clarity, if you want it to be valid, then have that clarity from the beginning. Be like, I'm carrying this tracker, or like if it's going to some kind of formal body, then there needs to be like these are the processes. So maybe that's actually something that we need to clear up across our sport, is going, this is what we expect to see if you're doing this, and at races, and I'm sure it's there, that there's clarity around the rules, that you know, if you find yourself lost, this is what we expect, and these are actually the consequences too if this happens. Because I know even years ago now, I can't remember what year it was, but I know that at UTA, I believe the lead male had missed iron pot. It might have been Debo.
I was there that year. Yeah, I ran it that year.
Yeah, and Tom and that had to decide kind of on the fly, like, okay, well, what's the penalty for this? What would it have looked like? What would it be? How's it impacted the race? So I don't envy race directors either.
I think they got that wrong, by the way.
Do you?
Yeah, I don't agree
What's your
with
hot
their
take
decision
on that?
there. Well, I'm with Scotty Hawker on this one because I think he was robbed of a win there. What did we, maybe 2015?
Yeah, I think it must have been 2015.
Yep, they missed an out and back, and basically what they did was they sat them down at the next aid station. I think there were 3 of them. Might have Debo and 2 Frenchmen. I said it rings a bell. It was a while ago. And they basically sat them down and said, I think it was a 15-minute penalty.
It was a 15-minute penalty, yeah.
Now, the out and back, it's not a huge out and back.
No.
These guys probably would have run it in half that time, so maybe they doubled it for the penalty. The problem is it's essentially a 15-minute chill down. These guys are sitting there rehydrating, getting some fuel in, chilling out, resting. So they get up and they could just take off, feeling pretty fresh.
Right.
It wasn't... they say the marshal wasn't very clear telling them where to go, but there is an onus on you to know where you are going. And it was a very clear out and back. It was made very clear in the race briefings. These guys should have known it was there. So either just straight out disqualify them or make it impossible for them to win, like an hour, 2 hours. Do something decent. But 15 minutes sit down at the next aid station? Nah. No, nowhere near enough.
50 push-ups.
If anything, it was an advantage, if anything. Because not only did they get a rest, they also didn't have to run as far, right? It was, no, not enough. But, I mean, yeah, I understand they had to make the decision quickly to try and clear things up. But
I think the marshal wasn't in place, so they probably felt at fault as well. Like, actually, we should have had a marshal there, which was meant to... So... I might be wrong, but that's... I might be wrong as well. My memory is that there was someone there, but they didn't direct correctly. But you might be right, actually. There might not have been someone there at all. So it's hard, and I guess that's the thing that...
I mean, these guys, I'm not saying these...
Clarity.
Yeah, these guys didn't cheat on purpose. I'm not suggesting that.
Yeah.
It
not
was
at
a
all.
stuff-up. But I just think that the penalty did not fit the crime.
It's interesting how Debo's been not done before, but he took a wrong turn on UltraTrail Mount Fuji, I want to say. There was another race and it came down to like a dead sprint. I think he got second place, but he talks about that. Avaripa running, though, like they have played this, regardless of what people think about their decision-making, the language around the press statement, like whoever's doing their copy, whoever's doing their...
It's very good,
is top-notch. Listen to this. For those interested in learning about our decision-making processes and how we came to make this decision, please head over to our website to read the full article. We're open to feedback and have a feedback form. You can share your opinions with us, whether you agree or disagree. Thank you to those who continue to push for fairness and integrity in our sport. And we here at Avaripa are committed to continuing to learn, adapt, and do what we feel is best for the sport. Thank you. I mean, PR blinder.
And speaking of adapt, that's what they did. So the race, you talk about the race rules, Ali, the race rules are definitely quite clear. You don't do what this guy did, right? You don't just cut across open terrain to get back to the course. That is not allowed in the rules. But they've rewritten them now to allow for some flexibility by the race director based on the individual circumstances because they realised that the black and white rule actually isn't quite clear enough. Regardless of all that, I'm still adamant you retrace your steps just for safety, for nothing else. Also, rules for what Will has done. Yes, there are very specific rules because he's going for a Guinness record. So he has met all of that criteria regarding his tracking, GPS, and everything. That has all been. He did that from the beginning all the way to the end. So the only reason. The only thing people are suggesting, with no evidence, it's important to add, is that he'd be giving his watch to another runner while he had a break, and that's why the heart rate's different. Or he, jumped on a bike or something, But there's no evidence to suggest this happened. It is pure speculation. Don't know.
That's the corollary to it, though, isn't it? And this guy, regardless of his intrinsic, extrinsic motivation, right? And regardless of the fact that we may or may not be jealous he's hot,
just you, man. It's just you.
I can guarantee you, A, it's not me. But
I'm
B,
fine with his abs. I'm okay with it.
But B, this is the thing, that in the world, there's more than me, you, and Ali. So...
Not right now, there isn't.
Not right now. I can guarantee you that A, I'm not, but B, there is a segment of the population who will be going, and I don't agree with it. I think it's stupid. I think it's misguided. But that is the corollary to it. Like, you have to actually have good like, people who go, no, he must have given, like, I don't care if he's looking great in his, like, Versace skids, smoking a Marlboro Light at the end of the day, drinking a beer in the sun with it's just everything's perfect and he looks perfect. Like,
does he? He
does. But the thing with it is, actually allow that too. Like, who cares? Does it affect your life? Does it affect your life? Will you lay awake thinking about him tonight? Maybe. But maybe I won't. But the point I'm making is, like, in this day and age, unless you're so relentlessly narcissistic, which he doesn't appear to be, that you would do something like that and so blatantly cheat like that, like give your guy,
give them the ammo that they want.
Give him, give him not the benefit of the doubt, but like it has to be within normal realms, eh? Like if he was sort of going out to just like, there would have been other signs and other attempts and other dealings and I'm not sure that that's there. Do you know what I mean? I'm not sure that they're like, this guy's been just a relentlessly dodgy prick from the jump and now he's going to go and camper van his way across Australia.
Yeah, well, his biggest detractor, I can't remember his name, because he ran across America and the guy thought he was cheating then. So he went out and watched him.
Yeah.
And, everything was fine, and there was like, I don't know, a rock thrown at a car. It all sounds pretty heated. They're not having any fun, those guys, that's for sure. But
go touch some grass, my dudes.
Yeah, purely from a entertainment level, I'm entertained. That's for sure. I'm definitely entertained. I have got the popcorn out. That is for sure. And who else we got? We got Camille. I don't know what's going on with poor Camille, but she's done a post in the last few days, and I've no idea what it is, but I hope she's okay. So, yeah, I noticed Crush the Cargills commented on her post.
Well, then she's not okay.
That's weird.
Do we think that, okay, here's a story. Ali, Camille had the biggest female contract prior to, who's the human being who's now with Ultra?
Taradowa.
Yeah, Taradowa got that. The Lululemon contract was the biggest, best thing since sliced bread for female athletes. She puts up this Wikipedia thing, and she gets bounced immediately from that. Too harsh?
It's a hard one. I think maybe it is a bit of tall poppy syndrome, like I think we forget that these are real people that are super, super driven individuals. Like her whole life is running and she takes it seriously. Like, she'll wake up, she'll train, she'll nap, she'll eat, she'll train again. So, I can understand how if you feel like there's unfairness in the sport, you'd be really freaking pissed off, especially if it's your records or that sort of stuff that's going down. If it's not being, validated in the correct ways, then it would be frustrating if someone's like, yeah, I went and did this, but there's kind of not the same standards that you've adhered to. So there's definitely a bit of empathy from me towards her because I can understand how it would be crushing, absolutely crushing. But at the same time, like, do you need to go on Wikipedia? And I think it was kind of the levels of the changes that they were making that made it harder for people to relate to.
Hardly Lance Armstrong, though, was it?
No, it's not. Yeah. So, she's had massive changes in her life and career as a result of that. And, I feel for her, definitely. Is it equivalent to what she's done? I don't know. What they did seemed pretty silly, but...
It's sorry, you're going to have to bleep this out, Andrew. It's so fucking lame. Like, yes, absolutely. But you're going to go like, Courtney DeWalter's shorts are too long or whatever the fuck it was on the fucking Wikipedia. Like,
It's a lot of editing.
I know. It's going to make for great content though. But like, come on, dudes. Almost you did it to yourself in terms of just like being like so like, it's like writing mean letters to the editor. You know, I'm not saying that she shouldn't have had punishment, but I wonder, do you know that like just is that commensurate and the enduring kind of thing of like, I'm sure she still gets heat for that daily. I'm sure she still gets awful messages on social media. I'm sure all of that stuff happens, you know.
Yeah.
You know, maybe that's the problem is that back in the days, if something like that had happened, we'd be like, that was a bit of a silly comment to make, you know, like, let's go for a run about it and have a chat. But now we've got social media and it's like, poof.
Well, you wouldn't even hear the comment because it would never make it to New Zealand.
And Wikipedia didn't exist, so what were you doing?
True. You got the old spreadsheets.
What would the analog entry would that be? Breaking into libraries and ripping pages out of the encyclopedia.
You know, all our records, long records, your 24-hour records, 12-hour records. That's all just an Excel spreadsheet. Mm-hmm. Well, that's how we do it now. You know, anyone could change it. It's pretty rootsy.
Hey, I've got a weird curveball that I thought I've only just remembered. Stephanie Gage. So she won UltraTrail Snowdonia.
Yep.
And, you know, we've seen articles about how she's breastfeeding a 6-month-old baby.
Yeah.
And she, you know, took out the win and stuff. What we haven't seen online is that she was in the 3rd start group. So somebody else actually finished and thought they'd won.
Ah.
Oh,
Oh,
look at these faces trying to get their heads around this.
well, no, I can understand it because Badwater had this problem one year.
We always talk about it. We were talking about it at the 22 this year, Ali, because it took us there were so many stoked human beings. The start of the UTA 22 took 4 hours.
Yeah.
So people had finished the race. Ben Duffus was back at home before people were starting their run.
That is amazing.
And we always talk about it. We go, ha, 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 what if someone started in the last wave and actually won the race because of their time? Is that what has happened?
Yeah, apparently. But it hasn't, like, I haven't seen anything about the winner, the original winner, like what's kind of gone down there. It was all like all I've seen is amazing kind of celebratory articles, which it is amazing. It's a huge achievement, and it sounds like because we then, like, I've just seen it in one of the kind of women's running groups talking about this kind of question, and I know like UTA, they have clarity around that if you are wanting to podium, you've got to be in that elite start group, which interestingly, Meg Coffey won the UTA miler. She didn't have a UTMB index because she's got a 12-month-old child, but the UTA miler didn't have start groups. So if there had been, she wouldn't have been able to win.
Well,
So it's just an interesting kind of a...
could she have?
Well, if they'd had
Not if she wasn't in
if they'd had
pink.
start groups, she wouldn't have been in the pink wave.
Yeah.
And the pink wave is the pink dot on the bib where they're like, it's the elite wave.
But I mean, your bib time would be faster than everyone else.
But what they say at UTMB is it's first across the tape.
UTMB or UTA?
UTA as well if there's start
Okay, sorry.
groups.
Got my races mixed up.
So that's where I guess like UltraTrail Snowdonia needed clarity, and perhaps they didn't have that clarity in their race rules.
It's a UTMB race, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do we know if they were like aware that she was moving well? Because I mean, it's a long race. Like they would have known that she's setting good times halfway through. I mean, if they're keeping an eye on it, and then they may have said to the people that came over the line first, said, "Hang on, there is someone moving really quickly." If that happened in a nice, clean way like that, then there's no issue.
Watching though,
Well,
like
yeah,
how will they know?
They've got
They won't know.
so they've got if it works the way that UTA, they've got estimates
yeah.
and they run estimated times.
I know there was a great documentary for Badwater a few years ago. An unknown guy starting in the the early wave ran really well, and it was a year that Scott Jurek was running it. And this guy finished, but was aware, of course, that he was in a slower wave, but he set a really strong time, and he had to sit basically there at the finish line waiting for Scott to come over to see if Scott was going to run a faster time than him. Ooh. Now, in the end, Scott did, which is a good thing because it stopped any sort of... any controversy, because Scott would have a strong argument to say, well, how do I know who I'm racing if they're not beside me? You know, if they're not starting at the same time as me, how do I beat them?
Yeah, that's right.
And also a reasonable argument is that if you were starting in the faster wave, you were starting in the heat of the day rather than the cooler early hours. So you actually have an advantage if you're starting earlier. So it's awkward when you've got unranked people. This has been a problem. This is an older documentary. So this has been a problem for a while, not just sort of the recent big races. But how awesome did she go, though? I mean, what an amazing result. Speaking of amazing results, just quickly, you've reminded me over that way, Damien Watson from Muriwai just won, is it the horse 200 miler in Wales?
The mammoth horse.
The wild horse. Oh, I should really have looked that
mammoth
up.
in it. Yeah, 250. He ran 250 miles?
I feel like it's 200. It doesn't really matter. It's a very long way across Wales.
Tell you what.
What a weapon out of nowhere. I met that guy at Taupo this year, just randomly standing beside the river. And he was wearing T8 shorts, and I said, cool shorts, bro. And he goes, hey, man, I listened to your show, yada, yada, and we had a good chat. And then there he is going winning 200-mile races in Wales.
Look, shout out to the Muriwai Sea Slugs. And, I mean, if you want to really, it's the Steele brothers and Damien. They run they own and run the deli out there, and they've really, the food out there isn't like, it's incredible. And they're awesome human beings. And,
it is the Wild Horse 200.
Wild Horse 200. There we go. No mammoth thing in it. But yeah, he went and smashed that.
Course record too. But
he was like that at this year's relapse. I think he was third.
Oh, anyone can get third at relapse, mate.
I was well over 200. It was well, and he looked fresh as a daisy. Like I was standing in his tent and he sounded, and I was watching him too for that kind of like, I'm looking good, and then I'm going to kind of like, no, he didn't. He just, their boys built differently. So
there's some surprising weapons out there in this country.
And this is the thing when we think about having indexes, which rank us. So stuff like having a baby and being out for 12 months, or just making croissants at Muriwai, very well, I must say, and then coming out and like, kicking it in the dick like that, like that's the thing, isn't it? That's the beauty of our sport.
Yeah, I try not to look at mine. It's just going down. It's just constantly dropping. I just ignore it.
Well, Caitlin Fielder said, start like a donkey, finish like a racehorse. And I thought, what's start like a donkey? And then for me, what would be the devolution from donkey? So start like a donkey.
Three-legged donkey?
Finish like a...
Anyway.
So
I just hope everyone out there is doing okay with all this controversy out there in the world of ultra running or trail running in general. Yep. I'm sure you all are. Oh, and 24-hour races are dumb. Don't do them.
I felt like my words came back to haunt you, Andrew. I was just joking when I said show up, blow up.
Oh, I blew up almost immediately.
Literally, he took it literally. Hey, look, Ellie, before we go, I mean, we're going to shut up now, but you spoke to someone in the library of the Fairmont, and when we say the library of the Fairmont, this place is like hand-tool leather chairs. It's pretty flash. Who did you speak to?
I had the pleasure of speaking with Charlotte Lomas, and it was really cool, actually. So I caught up with her. She's from Katoomba. She's working in Broome. And she was coming back to do the UTA miler just because it was like it's her local, and she was just like, I've got to do it. So caught up with her pre-race and post-race, which was really, really neat. I really enjoyed chatting with her, and she was all like, so when I got kind of put in touch with her, Leslie had said, oh, she's an amazing young runner from Katoomba and she's going to do well at the miler. And she's like, no, I'm not. Leslie said I'm going to do well and I'm not. She actually ended up being 6th place female. So she did pretty well. I was tracking her throughout the day like, oh, come on, Charlotte. She had a good day out, and just really cool to hear about her experience. Yeah. I'm joined by Charlotte, who has travelled all the way from Broome for UTA
but you're actually from here, aren't you? Is that right?
So I grew up here. So I've lived here for over 20 years, and then I just moved to Broome in January this year.
And what took you to Broome?
I'm studying medicine over there. So it's a remote medical course. We do all our placements across the Kimberley in Western Australia. So a lot of work with Indigenous people and then rural Australians as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
And how are you finding that?
It's amazing. I think having grown up over here, I was so lucky for the access to the bush all the time. And it's a very, fortunate place to live in. But being over in Broome, you're still in Australia, but it's so different. There's a lot of issues that you never see over here, things like youth crime and the living conditions for a lot of people and all sorts of health problems that we just don't see here. So being able to now see that side to Australia has just been, I think it's made me so much more grateful for where I'm from, being the Blue Mountains, and but also just the Kimberley is unreal. The actual landscape over there is phenomenal, and it really does feel like another country.
Yeah.
And I love being out there in the outback, but also on the coast at the same time, and living so remotely and so far from anything else, and having all sorts of issues like not being able to get groceries, or phone reception some days will just disappear and there's nothing you can do about it. Like having all these new challenges has been amazing. So I absolutely love it.
And then you've added, well, you already were doing it, right? You've taken the challenge of ultramarathon running.
Yeah. Yeah, I did. I signed up to the miler before I knew that I was going to be over there. And then, I think I knew I was potentially going to be over there, and then I couldn't let go of the idea of not doing the first miler in the Blue Mountains because I just thought that was going to be the best thing ever. So I did, decide to try and balance the two. But I definitely, the whole time, was very open to the fact that, I was always going to put my studies first, and I was always going to prioritise being in Broome. And so I think the whole time my goal was just to balance training and medicine, but I knew that the first thing to go would be the miler. But now we're here, it's it's happening. So I was able to balance the two, but it was probably the hardest training block I've ever done.
Yeah, what's it like training there?
It's hot. It's hot and it's humid. So until probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago, it's been 40 degrees every single day with 90% humidity. So every single run is like a sauna. I think, I'd always heard about heat training being so good for you before, but it's very over-glamorized online, I think. The realities of it is just when you have to do it back to back every single day. And then the other thing with up there is there's no shade. A lot of the trees are quite, we're lucky here, we've got really tall gum trees. So when you're down in the valley, you're quite often sheltered, but there's no sun protection, and the ground is just hot. There was one point where I actually had burns on my feet because the ground was that hot.
Even with shoes on?
Yeah. So I had blistering on the soles of my feet from the heat, just from the concrete. So I learnt my lesson that time not to go at 1 p.m. But sometimes it was hard with uni to get the timing right. But and then, at the end of the day, all you want to do is go for a swim after your run. But you can't swim because we've got the saltwater crocodiles and the box jellyfish and the bull sharks. So... And then you can't have a cold shower either because it's so hot that the pipes just are always warm.
Oh, no.
So it's kind of like there's no relief no matter what you do, no matter where you go over
what
there.
What you need is a really big fridge.
Yeah.
Go buy a beer.
Yeah. We have, I live at uni and they have quite a big freezer and they always have ice creams in there. So that was my relief. No swimming or anything like that. But every run ends like you look like you just jumped into a swimming pool.
Oh my goodness.
And it's insane. And there was,
And what have you changed anything with running in the heat so much? Like have you learned any little hacks that have worked better for you?
I think... just the actual clothing. I think before I was always like, how could wearing a long sleeve shirt cool you down? I think that protection from that direct sunlight is huge. And then electrolytes has been a massive lesson. And I don't think I've fully figured this out, but eating is so much harder in the heat as well. So that's been challenging and I think something I'm still figuring out a bit. But I would say I think the amount of electrolytes I was having when I started was definitely nowhere near enough, and I quite often ended up just wiped out when I'd finish. When I first moved there, if I had a long run on the weekend, the rest of the day I'd just be like lying on the floor under the aircon, and I just couldn't do anything because I was completely wiped out. So yeah, I think just basic stuff really is that just fluid intake and electrolytes was probably the best thing.
And did you have any stairs to trade on over there?
I found it was like halfway through my training block, I found one set of stairs. It was like probably 10 metres tall. And yeah, we know each other very well now.
Oh, so must you be the local legend for sure.
Yeah, there's no hills at all anywhere. It's the flattest place I've ever seen. Like, I lived in Sydney for a short period and I used to call myself a flatlander down there, and that's such a lie. I take that back 100%. Like, Broome is, we have one set of sand dunes, which is about the closest we'll get to a hill, and then there is that one set of stairs that I found. So yeah, I've spent a lot of time on that.
When it comes to the miler, what are you looking forward to?
I think, my favourite place to run anywhere is that Perry's to Lockleys route, and I think that's basically why I signed up. The fact that was part of the race, I think, is just so cool, and I'm so looking forward to running that section, and particularly because it's earlier on and it's not going to be overnight either, so it should be a really beautiful time of day and hopefully won't feel too awful, otherwise there'd be pretty major issues going on. But that section I'm so looking forward to, but also just being back home. I think it's so cool to have flown back home for this event, because then I've got a lot of friends that are working at the aid stations or the first aid tents, and then people along the way that have said they'll be out there, and it's really cool because I haven't seen a lot of those people for a while because I haven't been here. So it's like ticking off, this seeing a lot of people at the same time as also running all my favourite trails ever, all in one day. Maybe a bit more than one day, but hopefully, around one day it'd just be, it's unreal. I feel so lucky to get to sort of combine that community aspect of the Blue Mountains that I love so much with also running the best trails ever.
I'm excited for you. It sounds like it's a Charlotte party.
I'm very excited.
And it's funny because, it has grown from this small grassroots event into this huge, like the second biggest trail run in the world.
Yeah.
But it still draws the locals. Like, there's still a really strong local showing, like especially the 11K, you always see all the families out there doing it, and you see the people volunteering. And like here in the entrance, the guy that I was just chatting to, he's like, "Oh, are you doing the UTA?" And I said, "Oh, I'm actually on the microphone for it." He said, "I'm doing the 22K, and so is the lady over there behind the desk." And so, like, just people working in the stores or in the hotels or wherever are all involved. Like, they love it.
Yeah, it's the best. I think that because I grew up here as well, I remember I think I probably would have been about 15 the first time I heard of the event, and just thinking, like, why do all these people do this? Like, that's just the dumbest thing ever. Why would you run these insane cliffs? Like, that's ridiculous. And then gradually, I think I've probably been the most inspired by all the mums that get involved with this event, the local mums, particularly in that 50K, I think is my favourite part. Yeah. They're the most passionate and the most excited every year without fail. And, even if I know a few this year that are like jumping up to the 100, or they might not be able to do the 50 this year, but they're still going to do the 11. Like, they get so involved every single year, and they've always probably been my biggest inspirations the whole time. When I eventually mentally made that switch from this is stupid to actually maybe this could be really cool, they were probably, my guiding light in this event, and they still are. I love them so much.
Well, it goes back to that, if she can see it, she can be it. And so, for you, you've seen them doing it and gone, and I guess like maybe heard what it means to them in their lives. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I think a few times I heard pretty early on just the strength that these women were getting from running these distances. Yeah. And I didn't know it at the time, but now I know what that feels like as well. And for them, they felt like that enabled them to be better, mums or friends or whatever it is. And then, I agree with that now. I think that a lot of us have found strength in events like this, or just running in general, that then also go on to make us better people otherwise. And I think as well, the community component of this event is just the best. And that also, I think, makes you realise, like, you don't have to be running it. You can, work it, you can support it, and you can be a part of this and supporting the people that you don't know as well. People might be up here, they've travelled from overseas, they might be on their own. Like, everyone gets behind each other so much. And I think that's something that as a community we should be so proud of, because it's that spirit is here every single year with this event, with people supporting everyone at all hours of the day. And it's so special, and I really, really look forward to that again this year when, people are dressed up or they're holding signs on any random street, back of Wentworth Falls or Katoomba, wherever it is. There's people everywhere. Yeah. And it's exciting to see them.
Yeah, and I always think it restores your faith in humanity. Like, you just see all these people that are just either really striving towards something and pushing boundaries and dreaming big, or you see people that are like, I really want that for you. Yeah. And they'll be there, championing them on, which is so special. And we need more of that in our everyday lives.
Yeah, not just in the sport, but everywhere. And I think this, people probably do take that into the rest of their year. I'm glad that this sort of does happen in May, is earlier on, because it brings such a good energy, and there's so much support coming from all kinds of angles and so much local involvement as well. I think sometimes people are hesitant with these big events because they're like, how could it be? It's not like a community level event, but I think this one is. Like, there's so many people that live up here that are involved in every sense of the event, and that's, it's really cool, and it shows. And then that energy, I guess, we can carry for the rest of the year in other events too. Like, it doesn't just have to be UTA, it doesn't just have to be running, just that support that we all feel for each other. Yeah. As a Blue Mountains community. It's like kind of like Christmas, you bring the family together and you have a great time, and then, the rest, you do it again next year. Like, 100%. It's definitely our Christmas up here. Yeah. People come together and just are there for each other, and then, I don't know, it just teaches you lessons in community, definitely.
Yeah. I always think it's like a trail running family reunion. Yeah. Like, I love it. I love seeing everyone and, seeing people join the family.
Yeah, they do. That's different. I know amongst my friends, we've had different people every single year for the past 4 or 5 years that have showed up to be there. And, there's the regulars that come back every single year. There's people that try it once and never come back again. Or there's people that don't even run that we've had that'll come and they still show up every year, and then they have no intention of ever running it, but they just love being on the sideline.
It just makes you feel good, I think, seeing people pushing boundaries and enjoying nature.
Yeah, I think particularly when you rock up for the endings that, I think they call it golden hour, but I think was it a guy last year who did the 100, he did it barefoot.
Oh my gosh, yes, he did.
I'll never forget him.
I interviewed him at the finish line, and I was like, have you been like that the whole time? And I was like, I'd had those heat warmer things in my shoes because my feet were so cold. He's rocked around 100 Ks on the trails and bare feet. Yeah.
And you get so much different inspiration from all kinds of people, and it's just the best.
Yeah, 100%. So you did UTMB, was it last year?
Yeah, last year.
And so what does it feel like towing the line for your second miler?
I mean, I'm just hoping it'll be shorter. I think if it takes longer, I'll be pretty upset about it. But it's exciting. I think that UTMB, it all happened really randomly. And I think that was sort of a point for me where I went, maybe, if I do commit to this, I can, get stronger and do a bit better than what I had been previously. And I guess it was a moment where I sort of saw a lot more potential for myself in the sport, and I learnt so many different things and on the day, and I'm excited, I guess, now to also apply that and to try again. But also a little bit fearful. I think that UTMB was so fulfilling. And, I always think people define their successes differently. And for me, I think that day was a huge success for me personally. For other people, they probably would look at it and be like, it wouldn't bat an eyelid. But I think for me, it was so deeply fulfilling for such a long time that not that I'm necessarily chasing that same feeling, but it's almost like, you know, you have something so good. It's like, how can you ever back that up? How can you ever do it again? And it's not going to be the same thing. And I'm not, like I said, not trying to repeat that. But, it's funny to just try something like that again that you know was so good and wonder, you just don't. It's such a weird thing being, you know, in the days before and having no idea what's going to happen. But I guess I'm just excited to take what I learned from that and to, give another mile a go. I definitely halfway through UTMB was like, I would never run this distance again. It's ridiculous. But then I don't think this UTA had been announced yet. It was like rumours just at the time afterwards. And then when it got announced, I was like, oh God, I've got to do that. Like, so I don't know. I definitely think the 100K distance is more fun, but I am really excited to give another miler a go. And that journey of a miler is unreal, and the people you meet along the way. And it's not something, you know, you could start out having a really good day and it can turn into a really awful day. And I love that you just don't know the whole way what's going to happen until you're basically at the finish line. And so that, I try not to overthink it, I guess. I don't really know what to expect or how I'm feeling because it's too long. Like you just don't know what will happen. But that's what I love about it, I guess,
With the race, do you have any goals?
So my goal was only ever to balance training with my studies, which sort of happened. So I have been, you know, looking for another goal the last few days. I think that one of my friends is working at the emergency aid station down in the valley, and I'd love to get through while he's still on shift.
Okay, cool.
So I think at the moment that's kind of the goal. That would be somewhere, I think, in the 20-something, mid-20, 25 to 30 hours maybe. I'll have to probably work out exactly what that is so that I can have a better target so that I can see him on the way up to the finish. But, other than that, I don't really like to go in with any specific goals because I think that when you just leave the day open to whatever it's going to be, that's really exciting, and then you can't be like I don't have nutrition plans, I don't set goals, I don't really have too many intentions other than just to have a really good fun day out there, and at the end, kind of like what I was talking about before, just to feel fulfilled and to feel like that sort of hit my definition of success is the most important thing. So
it sounds like you actually do have a really good process goal, is to have a fun day out there. And that if you do that, that's the measure of success.
And
that will fill the cup up.
And I think that's really been helpful in the past because then things can't really go too wrong. Because if you don't go in, you know, with any kind of rigid idea of what's going to happen or what you're going to do, then the success is sort of more likely to be achieved because there isn't a specific definition for it. You just get to, at the end, go, yep, that's it. I'm happy with that one.
I think you're lucky too because you've got lots of that to look, you know, that excitement to look forward to. Like you've got the people and you've got the places. So there's heaps of those kind of checkpoints, like not the actual checkpoints, well, probably a combination, but that you can kind of have to be excited about along the way. And it was, of course, the finish line too.
Absolutely. I think this is probably the first race I've ever done where I actually know the course as well. And I usually quite like to go in blind and have no idea what I'm in for, but this is the first one where I'm like, oh no, I know exactly what I'm in for. So it'll be interesting as well to see how that might be beneficial on the day in terms of just like not worrying about, you know, when things are going wrong or bad, just because I know exactly where I am and what's to come.
And you know you've done it before.
That back 100.
Oh, very cool. Oh, well, it's been a pleasure chatting with you, Charlotte, and I can't wait to hear how your race goes. And I don't know, it probably won't be on when you finish, but I'll look forward to hearing about how it is for you.
Hopefully it'll be a good recap at the end there. But thank you for having me on. It's really cool. I'm glad to be able to speak from a local's perspective, but also the younger side of things as well, because I think it's good to get the youth involved. And like I said, I knew exactly what it was like to be a young person up here.
Yeah.
And to see that event. And there's a lot of things I don't think I would have done in my life had I not actually started this kind of sport. So, yeah, to speak for young people, for women as well.
Yeah.
And then just to be a local is really cool. So thank you so much for that.
Pleasure. I wish I'd found ultra running earlier.
Yeah. Yeah, it keeps you on the straight and narrow. And, you know, I think it's a very good influence in your life. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it gives you that extra layer of resilience and belief in yourself, hey?
Yeah.
Which sounds like you're finding.
Yeah, discipline too, I think is probably a really big one. And then I think being a better friend and a community member as well.
Oh, well, I'll look forward to seeing how it all goes for you. And I'm sure the community is behind you.
Yeah, hopefully. Thank you so much.
It is Monday morning after a very big weekend at UltraTrail Australia. I am joined again by Charlotte Lomas. And Charlotte, we are now at the other end. We're bookended the weekend. So we talked to you before the race about how you're feeling about taking on UTA Miler. So tell me the whole breadth of it. How was it?
It was amazing. I think it was really far from what I expected in the best way.
Okay. In what way though?
I think I just had such an imperfect training block and I was absolutely just showing up to be part of it.
Yeah.
And so to get to sort of not necessarily be, I guess I didn't even feel like I really raced competitively, but to get to that end point and to have done quite well was
6th place.
Yeah.
It's pretty well.
Yeah, it was a really cool feeling because I've never done that before either.
Okay.
And for it to have happened at a time that was just, I guess at a point where nothing really added up that would have made sense. You know, if you looked at my training before, I don't think anyone would have said, yeah, she'll do well.
Well, let's talk it through. So what were you doing training-wise? Like what kind of volume or long runs?
I was probably, most weeks were probably around 8 hours of running.
Yeah.
This is probably like maybe a solid 10-week block. Before that, I was a lot less, like maybe 5 hours a week.
Yeah.
And then 8. And then I think I maxed out at about 11 hours.
And for you, like how many Ks would that be a week?
That was, I think, just over 100 Ks.
Okay, yeah.
And I only did that, about once or twice. So I think that was less than what I'd done last year before UTMB. And UTMB is obviously huge. But I think for me, I wasn't expecting to do anything that remarkable because I felt like I had done quite a lot less than what I'd done previously. And to not have had any training on hills as well. And I'm not hugely good at committing to strength training either. I wish I was, but I find that really, really hard to do.
Yeah.
And I can't afford a gym membership or anything like that either. So a lot of that for me was just like half an hour, a couple of times a week of body weight stuff in my room. If I was, getting that done. And that was an ideal week, but it only happened a couple of times as well. So I guess I also missed a lot of my long runs because I just couldn't get them in with uni. I found it really hard to stay mentally focused with an intensive study load and to also get those long runs done in the heat in Broome. So I think my longest run was just over 30 Ks and it only happened once. So, which is still, I'm glad it was still a long way and it was good to do. But I think for a miler, I at the time didn't feel like it was enough. But now I look back and I think that less maybe was a good thing.
So you went in feeling quite like fresh and...
Yeah. I went in, I thought I was undercooked, but I think maybe not.
Yeah. And I think that's people have these expectations or kind of aren't sure of what the best training volume is for something like 100K or 100 miles.
Yeah.
And it's a good reminder that the maximum amount of training that you can do is the best that you can do. And more isn't always more. Like, obviously you've gone in and performed really well, and maybe also kind of like having that lower expectation too, and going, oh, I don't know, and so then you go out not expecting heaps from your day and then have a blinder.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there is definitely something to be said with just having no expectation. And I think I said as well, when we spoke beforehand, that I just had no plan for anything either. And I think when you have no plan, nothing can really go wrong because you haven't defined what's right.
Yeah.
And so I just took everything as it came on the day. And overall, things definitely went really wrong and things were so challenging, but I haven't really thought too much about those things at all because I wasn't really worried about them in the first place. And then so I didn't really freak out when it happened either.
So what went wrong? I'm keen to hear.
I think I had really bad spinal pain, which was a bit freaky. I think I must have
Whereabouts in your spine?
kind of in the middle.
Okay.
Yeah, that was challenging. I'd had really early on some gut issues. I don't know what it is with UTA, but it always makes me vomit like crazy. I think my record's 12 vomits in one race. So that was a big goal for me to try and just not break that record of 12. And I think I had half a gel about 10 Ks in, and then I just said, no, I can't do this. I can't do gels. So ended up fueling the whole thing on just real food, which was I'm like really proud of because I've always tried to stick to a lot of the advice I see online when it comes to nutrition, and particularly at the moment, there's obviously loads about high carb fueling, and everyone loves to tell you what their favourite gels are. But I think I've tried for so long to enjoy gels and get them to work for me, but I've always had gut troubles. And yeah, I had gut trouble 10 Ks in, and I thought that was the end of everything. So I guess just to make that call and be like, I'm going to go with real food because that's what I enjoy. And then to not have any gut issues for the rest of the race was really, really cool. So that was nice. And then I got my period halfway down Narrow-neck, like 60 Ks in, and I wasn't expecting that. And that was also somewhere that was so far from any crew point.
Yeah.
But what was amazing was I got out to, I think it's Medlow Gap at the end there, once you come down Duncan's Pass.
Yeah.
And it was an aid station. At the time, it was all being run by a group of guys. And usually, if you ask a group of guys for a tampon, there's a solid chance the answer would be no. But they had a bowl of tampons on the aid station table, which was so awesome.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was really cool. So, like, things went wrong, but things like the way I think the event was run and just the decisions that I made on the day just like quite quickly turned these things around. And then just having wet feet for 24 hours was also that was pretty feral.
Did you change socks or shoes?
Sock changes a lot.
Yeah.
I was loving my shoes the whole time, so I chose to just keep the same pair of shoes on. But sock changes was huge, and I would be super curious to hear what people who were racing for longer, also how they manage that as well, because that was a challenge I'd never faced before, but that is just gross. And it took like a whole day for my feet to fully dry out.
A bit of a trench foot.
Yeah. It was nasty.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's probably, nothing too crazy. Like I think you quite often hear about gut troubles and all that kind of thing. But yeah.
That's a good reminder though, about, like things going wrong 10 Ks in, but just rolling with it because you can push through, although Lucy Bartholomew said she just felt crap all day and it stayed that way, but she had the hope of coming right. Yeah. So I'm glad that you actually did come right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No. I was going to say, like, it is amazing how I think the exciting thing with a miler is that when it does go wrong quite early, you have so much time for it to turn around. And I think things didn't really turn around for me until about 100 Ks in. Okay. Not that it was a bad day, but I didn't actually feel that great. I wasn't just mentally felt a bit negative. No idea why. But about 100 Ks in, that's when my body clicked and was like, okay, let's do this. Let's go now. So it is really cool to know that you have enough time to turn things around. And it's really cool to see people like Lucy, they're also pushing through for 100 Ks and, not worrying about day. And that's inspiring. I loved seeing, as much as I feel bad for her to have pushed through that for so many hours, but it was also so cool to see that from someone like her.
She's pretty gritty, Lucy.
Yeah.
She is like, and I think that's what, and that's the thing, right? Like things don't always go right. And it's just kind of about continuing to show up and hopefully a good day comes along as well.
Yeah.
So talk me through the highlights. And I asked you about the trickier bits, but tell me about the highs.
I think the thing I have thought the most about is just that women's field in that Mylar was incredible. Those girls, the energy right from the beginning. I mean, what you did by splitting men and women on each side of that start line, I think us all being able to start together felt really powerful.
Cool.
And it made a huge difference. It's a very different energy between the men and the women at the start. And no one is necessarily better than the other, but it was just like beautiful for the girls to be able to stand in a pack on that start line together and then run at the beginning together and have each other, because it's so easy to get lost amongst the men because there's so many more of them, which is amazing. But it's cool to have been amongst those girls, and then it just felt like all the girls were so cool, calm and collected the whole time and played it so smart, and every time I passed a female or they passed me, like they were so composed and strong. And also it just felt like everyone wanted each other to win and to do so well. And I think one of my favourite sections was Fortress Ridge on the out and back, where we were all able to pass each other and the girls were pretty close together.
Oh, yeah.
Which was also cool because, like sometimes you can be so spaced out, but everyone was really close together and everyone was really cheering each other along and had each other's backs. And it seriously felt like everyone just wanted everyone on that podium that day. So that was so cool. And then just, being able to sort of take inspiration from those women. I ran a little bit with Lou Clifton, and that was the first time I'd met her.
Oh, she's amazing.
She was incredible. Some of the stuff she was running, like 60, 100 Ks in. I was like, I don't even run that on a normal 10K, jog, but she's like absolutely flying up these hills, and she was just so consistent the whole way through. And it's really cool to just be so inspired in the middle of a race by someone else who I've known of her for ages, but to finally get to meet her out there, it's such a boost. And a few other women out there that were really cool. Emma Timmis had her energy was awesome.
she's really cool.
Yeah. She powered past me on Lockleys and she was just like, this is the best. And I was like, yep. So that was, just that women's field, and then being able to talk to them yesterday morning was really nice as well, because obviously in the race it can be, you're chatting, but you're also a bit mentally, out of it sometimes once the sleep fatigue hits in. But to be part of that was incredible. So,
I have to agree, like that when hosting prize giving and calling out all of the top 10 names, and I was just like, oh, they're all such cool humans, and I'm so stoked to see them. Like, I can imagine the energy, like the company of that. I mean, the whole lot, but that top 10, it was a really cool race, and like I got to see the media team videos and stuff like that from out on course, and you're right, like everybody seemed like they were working, but they were upbeat. And like I know that one of the comments was like that when Meg and Kelly were running together early on, and apparently they were kind of like, Kelly's asking about Meg's running experience and stuff, and like who she was, and
sussing her out.
But like in a chatty way. And I was like, oh, this is super cool.
Yeah, it was cool. It just didn't feel competitive. At all. It honestly felt like everyone was just out, having a nice Sunday run, like together. And I think also just the variety of women in that tent as well. Everyone has a very different background and very different story, different ages as well. To have, the winner be a mother of a 1-year-old, I think is just so inspiring as well. So I love that too, just, the diversity in that group of women. But at the same time, there was a lot that everyone had in common, particularly in terms of just their composure out on that course that day. And I don't think anyone really went ahead at the start and blew up or had anything
No.
Yeah, everyone's smart about it. So that was so cool to be able to learn from that.
I remember I've known Meg for quite a long time. She ran UTA 100, I think it was in 2017, and got when it used to be sub 14 for the silver belt buckle. She got it then. And I was chatting with her before the race, and she's like, oh, I haven't done the volume that and so it's like a similar thing to you, to be honest. Like, I haven't done the volume that I normally would going into a race like this, and, it's been a long time sort of thing. So it's quite cool to kind of hear. And so partway through, I was kind of like, I hope she's not, like burning her candles too soon. But also, like, she's experienced.
Yeah.
So she should know what she's doing. And so it was really cool just to see her kind of push on and just have a real blinder, because she's a really neat human.
Yeah. So lovely.
Yeah, so that was awesome. And yeah, you're right, like a real wealth of experience there with all those athletes that were top 10. And what did you think of kind of like the course? Like, was there any like beautiful scenery that struck out or that will stick with you?
I think I loved so much of it. I was in the Megalong Valley at sunset, and that was really beautiful.
That's the best down there. Did you see any kangaroos?
Loads this time. There were so many. And then it was hilarious because during the night there were so many frogs on the trail, and they were like sitting right in the middle of the trail, kind of looking straight up at the head torch. And so they were like, I was quite confused. I kept being like, are you real? And then these huge cows would appear out of the dark as well. So the Megalong was quite fun in the end. And then getting back up the top, so obviously we had that cloud inversion Saturday morning, which was amazing for all those people starting the 50 and the 100. But for the miler runners, we got to see that actually kind of building overnight. And it was incredible to see the clouds forming in the valley and then see the stars above it, and then have that all lit up by the moon. That was incredible. So that was something, you can't make that happen. So it was really, really special to see that, particularly after we'd been in the fog most of Saturday morning.
It was so foggy. Like driving to the start line, I was freaking out. I was like, this is so thick. Like I can hardly see in front of me.
Yeah.
And I was worried I was going to be late because I was going so slow trying to get there safely.
Yeah.
But the start was cool though, hey?
Oh, loved it. Yeah, it was really cool. Cold and wet in Blackheath, which was very on theme for the mountains. But it was awesome. Really good energy at the start line there. And I love as well when you can look back on a trail and see the line of head torches, and seeing that along the cliff top in Blackheath and the waterfalls. That was so beautiful too. Love that a lot.
So just thinking about this now, like obviously you've had a pretty good result. What are you thinking about, like what's next, or is it too soon?
Not too soon. Like I've still, I'm really happy and I've recovered really well. So not too soon, but I think reality hits in many ways with what's next, because I do just have to juggle like what I can afford and what I can fit in with my studies. So I have to just take that. I have to figure out, my timetable and what works. So I haven't got anything in mind, but I also don't like to just choose something for the sake of having something. I like life to kind of unfold and point me in the right direction of a race. So for now, I have absolutely nothing in mind, but it is funny. I was in many ways going into this race thinking it wasn't going to work out and it might be my last big one. So it has been a couple of days of like, oh, maybe it shouldn't be the last one.
Okay.
Like maybe I should try again. So
do you like that distance then?
I really love the long distance. Yeah. So I don't really like to race too frequently because I love to just do a pretty long block and then do a big long. I think my brain just loves it. Like I said, I think I really kicked into gear at 100 Ks. So before that, I didn't feel, didn't feel that fancy before. But so I think it's really what my brain enjoys, that long distance. I love the adventure and the journey that you go through over that time frame. And I think my body holds up pretty well with that. And I don't really like racing with a high heart rate. So short stuff just freaks me out because I feel uncomfortable. I really admire people that do it, but I think soon as my heart rate's above like 150, I'm like, oh, I can't be bothered. So I like to take it pretty easy, but just go for a long time.
Well, I'm curious. I'm keen to see where you end up going next with it. Obviously, there's a lot of, potential there.
Yeah.
But still lots of time, right? Like you're young, you've got lots on your plate. So I guess the main thing is actually just that you continue to enjoy being fit and healthy and focusing on your studies and doing what you can.
Yeah, I think, definitely keeping the balance. I think with this race, part of what I feel like went well was just that I didn't really do anything fancy in many ways. Like, it just kept it super normal. I think some of the best advice I've ever been given is just like pretend it's a normal week and don't really change a lot. And I just felt really calm and really, really happy on the start line. And I think that's almost for all the things people talk about with training styles and what to eat, what to do, how much to sleep, blah, blah, blah. We don't often talk about just making sure that, you are really healthy and your life is balanced, and you just arrive at that start line feeling really happy and content with yourself and what you've done. And that can take you so far. Like I said, I missed my long runs. My biggest weekend of training, I went camping instead. And at the time I felt really guilty for it because I think I did 30 minutes of running instead of what should have been about 8 hours. And I thought, God, I've really stuffed this up for myself, I'm sure. But that weekend, brought me so much happiness and fulfillment, and that takes you a really long way with racing as well. So I think, if people ever feel bad about missing training, as long as you're doing something else that keeps you happy and healthy, that takes you a long way.
What would you say to someone who wants to do something longer, but they feel intimidated about what the potential training load might be?
I think it's just not worth worrying about, because I know people that, training for marathons that do so much more training than I do, and that's amazing for them. But I think, what I really learned this weekend is just that you don't necessarily have to step up your training hours. I think just as long as you're keeping some level of consistency and, you are sleeping and you're eating really well, and like I said, just keeping yourself really happy and content, you don't necessarily have to increase your training hours, by a huge amount. Obviously, if you can, that might be beneficial. But if you can't, it's not worth worrying about. I was really worried that I was going to have, a shocker of a day this weekend because of my training hours, and I ended up having the best race I've ever had. So it's just, don't worry about it. Just roll with it, do what you can, be consistent, and make sure the runs that you can do are just high quality, and then sleep heaps in between and eat a lot too, and you'll be fine, honestly.
Charlotte for coach.
I just
sorted.
Prescribe 8-hour sleeps, and that's about it.
Oh, that's the dream.
Yeah. yeah, in an ideal world.
Yeah. Well, I'm so happy that you had such a great race, that you enjoyed it, that you learnt about, kind of persevering, and that things did come right for you, and that you also just kind of have still got that recognition of how important it is to be happy and enjoy your running and try and find a balance that works for you. I think that's a pretty cool result from this weekend all round.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Well, it's been a pleasure chatting, Charlotte. Well done on your run. Thanks for sharing so much with us. I really appreciate it. And hopefully we can have another chat at some stage in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Charlotte. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Ali. I'm Matt Raymond. This is the Dirt Church Radio Aidstation podcast for our subscribers and the DCR Aidstation crew. Stay tuned next week when we have a pretty incredible guest lined up. Mate wa.